What if we have never seen reality? The grass outside your house, it is not green. It appears to be green because it absorbs every other color in the spectrum of light and reflects the wavelength that we interpret as green. So, what we are seeing is not what the grass actually is. Do you remember the prism experiment from school? When the light passes through the prism, it splits into seven colors. But those seven colors were always there. We just couldn't see them until the light was refracted. So, if even color is not what it seems to be, what else about reality is just an interpretation? Hello and welcome to Wiser with Akshata. I'm your host Akshata. I have completed my bachelor's in psychology honors and I'm currently pursuing my master's in clinical psychology. On this channel, we explore psychology, healing, awareness, and expanding the way we see ourselves and the world around us. Today, we are here to gently question our reality. Let's begin with the vision. As human beings, we can only see a tiny fraction of the electromagnetic spectrum, roughly between 400 to 700 nanometers. Infrared exists, ultraviolet exists, radio waves exist, X ray exists, but to us, they are invisible. Bees can actually see the electroviolet patterns in the flowers that guide them to the nectar. Snakes can detect infrared heat. Some marine creatures have more color receptors than we do. There are colors in this universe right now that we will never get to experience. Not because they aren't real, but because our biology filters them out. Now, sound. Dogs can hear the frequencies that we cannot. Bats use echolocation to navigate through darkness. Elephants communicate through deep infrasound vibrations that we cannot detect. Is our reality silent or are we simply limited receivers? Even time feels different depending on the nervous system. Flies process visual information much faster than we do. To them, our movements appear slower. Reality stretches and compresses depends on the organism who is experiencing it. Already we have seen something really profound. Reality shifts with perception. Now let's go deeper than this. Our brain is actually inside a dark, silent skull. It has never directly touched the world. It receives signals through our sensory organs. Light hits our retina, sound waves vibrate in our ears, molecules stimulate receptors, and then electrical impulses. That's it. Our brain is like someone wearing virtual reality glasses. When we wear VR, we react emotionally. We duck when something flies towards us. We feel fear. We feel at awe. But nothing is actually there. Our brain is constantly wearing a biological VR. It takes five sensory inputs and builds a stimulation. So we don't experience reality directly. We experience our brain's model of it, how it has perceived the world. Now let's test this. Think about the famous dress photo. Was it blue and black or was it white and gold? Pause and answer in your mind. Dora the Explorer. Here's the surprising part, the image had never changed. The pixels were identical, but our brains interpreted the lighting completely differently. Some assumed shadow, while some assumed light. Same stimulus, but different reality. Now let's go one step further. Both of us look at the sky and agree it is blue in color. How do we know we are experiencing the same blue? What if the color experienced in one's mind is completely different to someone else's mind? Since both of us were taught to label it blue in color, we assume it is identical. We can compare words, but we cannot compare raw experiences. There is no way to step under someone else's perception. I am not saying that the blue you see and I see are different, but there is a slight possibility, isn't it? Because I'll never get to experience your point of view, and you'll never get to experience my point of view. So, if our senses are limited, if our brain constructs experiences, then what we call the truth may simply be an interpretation. Two people can live through a same moment and walk away with complete different realities. Not because one is wrong, not because one is foolish, but because perception is filtered through memory, belief, trauma, and expectations. We don't argue about reality, we argue about the interpretation of it. And that realization alone can soften our egos. And here is something even more beautiful. Even if reality itself is constructed, our consciousness is real. The fact that we can question our perception means something extraordinary is happening. We are not separate from the universe observing it. We are the universe experiencing itself through the human nervous system. Not outside of it, but inside of it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is profound. If perception is limited, then humility becomes intelligent. Curiosity becomes our strength. Instead of saying, this is how it is, it has always been like this, you don't know, blah blah blah, grow up, we can say, this is how I am currently perceiving it. That small shift changes relationships, it reduces reactivity, and it increases our empathy. Because if our sensory world is limited, our judgment must be limited too, right? When we finally understand that this reality is filtered, we become less self absorbed, because we know that whatever we are experiencing, we can never know the objective truth. And some people still think that this is how things are supposed to be, and anyone who doesn't think according to them is maybe divorced from reality. Through understanding this, we become less rigid, less ego driven, and more exploratory, more compassionate, and more expansive. We try to understand other people more instead of being so rigid in our own perception. Yes, our perception is limited, and yes, our brain builds models. But even within that limitation, we get to experience colors, sound, emotion, love, curiosity. Even if incomplete, we still get to experience these wonderful, beautiful things. And maybe the goal isn't to access the ultimate reality. Maybe the goal is just to refine our lens, to regulate our nervous system, to heal our filters, to expand our awareness. Because when perception expands, our life expands. Not because our universe has changed, but because our perception had changed. The grass is not green, white light is not white. Reality is not fixed, it is refracted through us. So, this week, notice interpretations, notice assumptions, and ask gently, is it the reality, or is this just my brain's current model of it? Thank you for being here. This is Wiser with Akshata, and I'll see you in the next exploration. In case you haven't checked out this video, then please do, and I'll see you in the next video. I love you.